I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and the time is 5:31. Good evening. The board will now reconvene into open session. The time is 6:20. On behalf of the trustees, I would like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School Board. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance and request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during the Matters from the Floor section of the agenda. If you signed up to address a specific action agenda item, you will be called at that time. Finally, I would like to remind you that it is the mission of Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. Item 5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. A, Driscoll Middle School, Mr. Hill.
I'm assuming this is on. Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. I am John Hill, principal of Driscoll Middle School, home of the Defenders, home of the only student at the Harris UIL academic meet to record a perfect score on the spelling bee, home of the small school 8th grade boys basketball champions, home of the award-winning Mighty Driscoll Band. We are also home of the 360 exemplary students. At this time, it is my pleasure, distinct pleasure, to introduce the two of these students. First, Miss Lily Kinsel and her family. Lily plays oboe with the band. She's a golf team member. She's a new UIL academic team member, a student council president, and Lily will lead us in both the United States Pledge and the Texas Pledges. To my left is also Mr. James Salazar and his family. James is a percussion, plays percussion in the band. He's a three-sport athlete. He's on the UIL academic and robotics team, and he's the National Junior Honor Society president. James will provide the invocation for the board meeting. And at this time, I'll turn it over to James.
Good evening. Today, in honor of National Women's History Month, I'll be reading the poem Remember Woman by Reese Leva. Remember woman, you were born life giver, miracle creator, and magic maker. You were born with the heart of 1,000 mothers, open and fearless and sweet. You were born with the fire of queens and conquerors, warriorous blood you bleed. You were born with the wisdom of sages and shamans, no wound can you not heal. You were born the teller of your own tale, before none shall you kneel. You were born with an immeasurable soul reaching out past infinity. You were born to desire with passion, abandon, and to name your own destiny. Remember, woman, remember you are more than you can see. Remember, woman, remember you are loved endlessly. Remember, woman, your power and grace, the depth of your deep sea heart. Never forget you are a woman, divine as you have been from the start.
Thank you.
Would you please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Lily and James, would you please come forward? Mrs. Winkley has a certificate for you, and we would like to take a picture, please. Thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate it. Item 6, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. 1, possible action regarding routine personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments. No action. Item 2, introductions. Dr. Gottardy.
Thank you, Madam President, board members, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing our new Director of Library Services, Mrs. Teresa Sanchez. Teresa, will you please stand? Ms. Sanchez joined the Northeast family in 1998. Prior to being named Director for Library Services, she was the Assistant Director of Digital Learning for Curriculum and Instruction. Ms. Sanchez received a bachelor's degree in elementary education in 1996 from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. She also earned a master's degree in Library Services and Information Science in 2000 from the University of Texas at Austin. Ms. Sanchez has 23 years in education. Congratulations, Terri. We also have with us tonight a brand new assistant principal at Bush Middle School, Miss Amanda Taylor. Amanda joined the Northeast family in 1998 as well. Prior to being named an assistant principal at Bush, she was a teacher at Bush Middle School. Ms. Taylor received a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies in 1998 from Texas A&M University. She also earned a master's degree in educational administration in 2009 from Concordia University. Ms. Taylor has 20 years in education. Congratulations, Amanda. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes our introductions.
Thank you. Item B, possible action on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to Government Code Section 551.072. No action. C, possible action regarding consultation with board's attorney pursuant to Government Code Section 551.071. 1, pending and or possible litigation. No action. Item 7, recognitions. A, 2019 Student Voice Scholarship recipient. At the 2019 TASB Winter Governance Conference, Walsh Gallegos, Trevino Russo, and Kyle PC awarded 4 scholarships for Student Voice. I would like to ask Audrey Herrera to please come forward and just come stand in the middle and face the audience. I'm going to talk about you for a minute. Audrey is a senior at ISA, and she was one of the 4 2019 Student Voice Scholarship recipients. The recipients attended the Winter Governance Conference and sat on the Scholarship Award panel. Now I'm going to share some things from Audrey's winning essay. Audrey's the middle child with 2 older and 2 younger siblings. She was raised primarily by her mother, who has been a teacher for over 28 years. Audrey has a passion for youth advocacy, educational equity, and civic engagement. She dreams of one day being a trailblazer in public service, possibly on city council. She has worked for councilmen and is the mayoral appointee and chair of the San Antonio Youth Commission, which she says has completely transformed her long-term goals and provided her with so much growth. Her work with the Youth Commission has helped her investigate problems beyond herself and taught her how to take meaningful actions. She continually works to ensure that youth are connected and represented in our city so that no one feels isolated like she once did. She sees a bright future in the public service sector in San Antonio and hopes to continue to evoke powerful change to ensure equity in our communities. Please help me congratulate Audrey on being a Student Voice Scholarship recipient. Who represented Northeast so well at the conference. You did an amazing job on the student panel. You were the best, and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased. Ms. Hughey's going to have a certificate for you. And is your mom here? Hi, Christy. Thank you for being here. Please stand. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. Item B, UIL State Cheerleading Champions. Dr. Newman.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. I would like to ask Ms. Julie Shore, our Executive Director for Fine Arts and Student Services, or Student Activities, to introduce this fine group of girls.
Good evening. Each year, hundreds of cheerleaders flood the Fort Worth Convention Center of the hopes of earning the top spot in the Texas UIL State Cheerleading Competition. Students compete in game day competition that includes 3 categories: crowd leading, fight song, and band dance. UIL cheerleading is fairly new to the UIL realm and has been in existence for 4 years. In that 4 years, our very own Johnson High School cheerleaders have held the top spot, and again this year earned first place in the 6A Division I competition for the 4th year in a row. They are now the 4-time 2019 UIL State Champion Cheerleaders. They earned a 99.40 out of 100 possible points and competed against 72 other 6A Division I schools. I am so proud of these girls in the competition, on the competition floor, but I'm even more proud of their sportsmanship with each other and other schools. This is a top-notch program run by a very talented coach who truly loves these girls and leads by example. I am honored to introduce you to these young ladies. Amelia Atkins. Hannah Beckman. Gabriella Blanchard. Erica Bodenhausen. You're going to hear lots of clinking. Maddie Burton. Bentley Camp. Casey Cooper. Kinsey Flowers. Brianna Foster. Catherine Franzese. Kennedy Herntzer. Annabelle James. Paula Lambert. Deja Lee. Campbell Lewis. Neely Marshall. Emmy Metzner. Chantel Pike. Taylor Prigmore. Miranda Ramirez. Lauren Rudeman. Caroline Robinson. Shauna Seneca. Nyala Summons. Lindsay Turner. Cameron Whitehorn. Maddie Whitford. Isabella Wildeman. Abby Williford. Ella Wisely. Taylor Wolf. And their absolutely amazing cheer coach, Miss Shannon Wiley. So we're going to get closer together. If you guys could make some rows squish together, we're going to take some pictures. Parents, feel free to get up and come take pictures if you'd like. I heard that. We are so proud of you. Thank you so much.
You got a PowerPoint? Okay. I was just checking, making sure.
Oh, hi.
Congratulations. Well, we'll open up the seating in the
Yeah.
boardroom.
A little bit.
Thank you all for being here and congratulations again.
Thank you, Julie.
Everybody in the back has to move to the front.
I know. There's a lot of open seating at the front.
That's where the cookies are.
Item C, JROTC Cyber Patriot National Finalist, Dr. Maika.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, and executive staff and guests. I would like to ask Colonel Robert Henson to come to the microphone to introduce this outstanding group of young people.
Thank you. Now, I must read this tonight, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, parents, and other guests. We're very excited to be here this evening to introduce this small, unique team of JROTC cadets and Engineering Technology Academy students. Now, I want you to get this. They're cadets and students. They're our student cadets. We share these youngsters. They have worked hard. They have acquired the knowledge, dedicated many hours of study to understanding software applications to neutralize potential threats to the electronic media and information systems we all depend on in our daily lives. Critical elements to the Cyber Patriot program are recognizing a threat to an online system, applying the correct off-the-shelf software to mitigate and neutralize the threat, and doing it in a very timely manner. To make it to the national final level, these student cadets competed in 3 rounds of online competition that lasted 6 hours each, constantly being bombarded with threats, with cookies, with all of the things that I have absolutely no idea about. Before I introduce the student cadets in the spotlight tonight, I must pass along some sincere words of thanks to the Career and Tech Department, to the district's Information Technology Department, to the Engineering Technology Academy, and the executive staff who dug into their pockets and made it possible for us to receive direct, unfiltered internet access, which cut our response time to mitigating threats to almost nothing. Significant. Also to Dr. Gottardy for recognizing the potential relevant job opportunities and advocating for the Cyber Patriot program in both the open, which you're going to hear more about in the future, and the JROTC division. I will also recognize this evening the Roosevelt leadership staff with us tonight. Mr. Brian Norwood, Principal. Mr. Robert Lozano, our ETA Director at Roosevelt. And Lieutenant Colonel Robert Fouts, our Senior Army Instructor there at Roosevelt. Our first cadet to be introduced is Cadet Sergeant Tristan Lee, a LET 1, which is a first-year student, a freshman. Cadet Sergeant Samantha Peace, a LET 1 senior.
I guess they don't want them to get their certificates. They're supposed to do that, I guess.
Cadet Sergeant Harrison Lewis, LET 1 junior. Cadet Sergeant Fardin Bimani, LET 1 junior. And Cadet Sergeant Jacob Romani, LET 1 junior. Their instructor, Master Sergeant Marshante Johnson, our Army instructor at Roosevelt. And for the expertise of a tremendous instructor that dedicates his time to both the Open and JROTC teams, Mr. Josh Beck. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the national finalists heading to Baltimore, Maryland for the national finals in Cyber Patriot 11. And congratulations to all of you.
Let's go to Baltimore. Pack your bags. Let's go. Tony's driving. No, wait, Shannon's driving.
Oh, I'm driving.
Eddie.
Brian.
Yeah.
Might have to squeeze in a little different. First week of April, 8th.
Congratulations and best of luck to you. Bring it home.
Oh, yeah. You know what? He is doing
I like her so much. I've talked to him twice, but like I can do good vibes from that.
He is the perfect
Yeah.
person for that job.
Item D, Healthier U.S. School Challenge Award. Mr. Clary.
Madam President, Dr. Gottardy, members of the board, executive staff, and guests, Ms. Glosson is at the podium, our Executive Director for School Nutrition, to present this item.
Good evening. In January, School Nutrition Services received notification from the Texas Department of Agriculture that Colonial Hills Elementary School has received a bronze award for the 2018 Healthier U.S. School Challenge, also known as HUSC. HUSC is a voluntary certification initiative established in 2004 with the goal to improve children's health by promoting healthier school environments and to recognize schools that have achieved this objective through promotion of nutrition and physical activity. To be eligible to receive an award, schools have made efforts to improve the quality of the foods served, provide students with nutrition education, provide students with physical education and opportunities for physical activity, and submit documentation of foods served, district recipes, lesson plans, wellness activities, and more. Since the program's inception almost 15 years ago, 23 additional Northeast ISD schools have been recipients of a Healthier U.S. School Challenge Award. Today, the Northeast ISD Board recognizes the individuals whose efforts earned this prestigious award for Colonial Hills Elementary School. And I'm going to call them up to the front. Principal of Colonial Hills Elementary School, Janae Mai. PE coach, Terri Pitts. Cafeteria manager, Esmeralda Bernal. Cafeteria staff members, Maribel Estrada, Maria Garcia, Luz Godinez, and Lupita Sanchez. And school nutrition supervisor, Leah Whetstone.
Thank you all very much and congratulations. Item 8, board business. A, report on SA to DC. Me and Deb. What is that little moth? Yeah. It's right. I know. Okay, tonight I would like to provide you with an update on 3 key legislative activities that took place in February. The first thing I'm going to talk about is SA to DC. The SA to DC event is an annual event hosted by the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, North San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, San Antonio Mobility Coalition, South San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, and West San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. There was a record-setting number of 175 leaders from business, community organizations, and elected officials who participated in one of 12 issue teams. The Education and Workforce Development team was the largest one because we are the best, and we had representation from public education, higher education, business, and nonprofits. Deb was the co-chair of our team, which had 4 school board members, Terri and myself, along with Katie Reed from Northside and Jose Macias from Judson. The Education and Workforce Development team shared our priorities with elected officials, legislative committee staff, and federal departments. We had a fast-paced agenda with meetings scheduled back-to-back. Our team was large enough that we were able to split up to conduct meetings at the same time. Terri, Deb, and I weren't at all the meetings listed here, but our team was well represented. And I think I'm way ahead of you, aren't I?
No?
Okay. I would like to recognize some of our team that was there with us. Please stand when I call your name. Greg Thorne, who's from First Mark Credit Union. Mario Barrera from Norton Rose Fulbright. Armin, and I'm not going to say it right, but I'm going to try, Babajanian from Big Brothers Big Sisters. Sharmika Hudson from Spurs Sports and Entertainment. Selena Montoya from AXR Strategies, LLC. And Lisa Marie Gomez, who is with the Chamber. And I think I've lost a slide.
No? We're
Am I
caught
up?
up. Did you want to take a, you've covered everything.
Okay. I would like to also mention that while we were there, our ISA senior class was also in DC, and Terri and I were able to meet up with the one of the issue teams to talk about their arts meetings that they were having, and then I was able to sit in on a meeting that 3 of the issue teams had with Congressman Will Hurd. And it was very cool to see our students interact with the congressman. Our issue team actually had a meeting right after they did, and he left us with his staff, but he met with the students, and I really was appreciative that he gave our students the time to do that. So before we move on to, is the next slide the PTA Rally Day?
Yes.
Before we move on to that, I would like to ask the issue team to come forward. I have a little gift for you. And I want to take a picture. So I talk about how I make the best key lime pie. Because I had to promise Maria that it's
Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, yeah, Terri.
Come on, Terri.
Sorry, it's coming. Here, Terri.
Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
We had a great team.
We did have a great team.
Good leader.
Oh,
Yes. Okay, are we ready to go to the next?
Yeah.
Hey, when I invited them, I told them they could leave after my presentation, and I got in trouble for saying that, so I'm not going to say it again.
You guys can go, though, if you need to.
Yes, you're. So PTA Rally Day. Dr. Gottardy, Dr. Maika, Sandy, Joseph, Deb, and I made the trip to Austin for PTA Rally Day. Dr. Gottardy provided a bus for PTA members from across the district, and he and Dr. Maika rode the bus with them to Austin. Deb and I drove, and true to me, I passed the bus on the road, but that's another story. The event started with a priorities caucus with guest speakers, including Commissioner Mike Morath, Speaker Dennis Bonnen, Senator Jose Rodriguez, and Representative John Zerwas. After the caucus, we convened on the Capitol steps for a rally to show support for public education, and then we all made office visits. We visited with Representative Steve Allison, Representative Diego Bernal, and Senator Jose Menendez. We talked with members about bills they had filed and issues important to both PTA and Northeast. and we presented each member with a student artwork from their district as a token of our appreciation. The next day, we attended the TASB Legislative Conference, and it was myself, Sandy, Joseph, Terri, Dr. Gottardy, Dr. Maika, Ron, Clary, and Deb. And this conference draws school board members, superintendents, and staff from around the state. TASA reported that more than 500 people attended the conference. The first part of the day included presentations to provide a preview of the session and highlight legislative priorities. We heard from Speaker Dennis Bonnen, Senate President Pro Tempore Kirk Watson, Senate and House Education Committee Chairs Larry Taylor and Dan Huberty, the Texas Tribune's Ross Ramsey, TAMSA's Teresa Trevino, Raise Your Hand Texas's Michelle Smith, and Texas Commissioner of Education Mike Morath. And then in the afternoon, we made more Capitol office visits. Our group met with Representative Leo Pacheco and Representative Barbara Gervin Hawkins, who both cover Northeast. We also visited offices of representatives from outside of Bexar County. We met with the Chief of Staff of Representative James Tallarico from Round Rock. He is the youngest member in the Texas House and serves on the House Public Education Committee. We also visited with Representative Stan Lambert from Abilene, who's a former school board president for Abilene ISD. He's a longtime friend of Ron Clary. And interestingly enough, his legislative director has a Northeast connection. His mom, Tamily Goodman, teaches at MacArthur High School. So it was really cool to see them. And Marie also knows Mr. Lambert. Yeah. So we talked with each member about items on our board's legislative agenda and bills that he or she had filed. Again, we presented student artwork as a thank you gift to the members. February was a busy month, but March will go by quickly. The session is moving fast, and there are some key dates coming up that will signal the end approaching. May 6th is the last day for House committees to report on House bills and House joint resolutions. If a House bill has not had a committee hearing by this date, we can assume it is not going anywhere. However, content from bills that don't make it out of committee can always be presented as amendments on the House floor. As you know, House bills and Senate bills passed in their originating chambers cross over to the other side to continue the process. May 18th is the last day for House committees to report Senate bills and Senate joint resolutions. If a Senate bill has not received a hearing by this date, it probably is not going anywhere. May 27th is the last day of regular session, and June 16th is the deadline for Governor to sign veto bills. Dr. Gottardy, did you have an update?
Very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Madam President, board members. I will tell you that 8 years I've been superintendent for Northeast School District, 4 different legislative sessions. This is by far the most positive and the most optimistic that I am going into this legislative session. And quite honestly, that enthusiasm has not waned very much at all. We're hearing a lot of great things coming out of the legislature in the way of adding more funding to public schools. And it's about time. It's about time that they really step up to the plate and do what's right for all public school children in the state of Texas. Couple, 2 or 3 highlights that I've seen so far. So early on, you saw a lot of publications, a lot of advertisement about a $5,000 pay raise for every teacher in the state. That is a fantastic initiative. That is something that we're always trying to strive to do in this particular school district. I will tell you that we're very anxious to watch how that bill transforms, because there's been some wrangling already going on about whether or not that $5,000 per teacher will continue after this biennium. So I will, and I already have, I will caution teachers and educators and employees all over the place that that is a headline grabber. And until we actually see both the House and the Senate pass that kind of school finance reform, let's continue to be very hopeful. Let's be very optimistic. I would encourage you to please contact your legislators that represent where you live and encourage them to continue to try and make more funding available for public schools. And then late this afternoon, I believe it was Deb who sent me that tomorrow, the House is going to announce their plan for public school finance. There's about 16 different bulleted items on the page that Deb sent to me, and I'm only going to go over the top 4 or 5 because I think they're very, very important. So tomorrow there'll be a press conference that the House will set the tone for where their public school finance bill, what it stipulates in their bill. And number 1, invest in Texas students and teachers by adding approximately $9 billion in funding above enrollment growth and current law entitlement over the next 2 years. Empowers local school districts to put more money in their classrooms by raising the basic allotment. Some of this is very complicated. It's all part of the, 100-page formula where school districts get funded. But they're trying to raise the basic allotment from approximately $5,140 to $6,030. That will be a huge increase to our basic allotment of $890 per student. They have a goal of reducing recapture from $7.7 billion to $4.7 billion for the biennium, a $3 billion reduction, 38% reduction. Folks, Northeast ISD, as I have presented on numerous occasions, we are rapidly becoming a recapture school district, and the idea that they are trying to reduce the amount of recapture payments in the state is great news for Northeast Independent School District. Establish an early reading program that funds full-day, high-quality pre-K for low-income students, setting the right foundation for students to be able to read at grade level by the 3rd grade. Ladies and gentlemen, we're opening up a full-day pre-K academy next year at West Avenue Elementary School, and if we can acquire full-day funding for pre-K, that will be a huge savings for the Northeast School District, and at the same time offer our kiddos and our families a very well-rounded education all day long. And then lastly, and I could talk for hours on this one page, provide property tax reform by lowering school property tax rates by 4 cents statewide. I want to caution everybody in here today. We all would love to have lower property taxes. I know everybody out there would love to have lower property taxes. But I would tell you that if the state legislature does not pick up the slack, if they reduce property taxes, they must come up with additional funding that's going to replace that reduction in property taxes. So it's a great idea. You're hearing a lot about reduction in property taxes, but please, they did this in 2005, 2006, and when they didn't replenish that money in 2011, they cut funding by $5.4 billion in the state of Texas. So again, please contact your legislator. Tell them that you're excited about lowering your property taxes, but that they must find additional funding to pick up that tab. So that's a lot in a very short amount of time, or maybe it seemed like a long amount of time. We're very optimistic, but I will tell you there's 3 more very, very important months ahead. Me and this team over here and a lot of people out there will be spending a lot of time in Austin to try and advocate for what we think is the right thing for public school children throughout the state and Northeast Independent School District. Thank you, Deb Caldwell, for keeping us abreast on everything happening in Austin, to include tracking over, it's probably closer to 500 now, closer to 500 education bills Deb Caldwell is tracking on a daily basis and keeps us all up to speed with what's the latest and greatest. Madam President, Deb Caldwell, thank you very much.
Yes, that leads me to my next. A huge thank you to Deb. There is no way that we can advocate and do what we do without you. I mean, on the SA to DC trip is a little bit like herding cats because we did have such a large issue team. but you did an amazing job getting us where we needed to be, having us prepared. It could not have gone any better, and it was all thanks to you. And then Austin was the same thing. I mean, I feel like I'm her little shadow. But thank you so much for everything that you do to prepare us for what we need to do, and doing it with a smile on your face.
Thank you.
I love working with you, and I don't know if anybody else has any comments or.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd just like to ditto everything that you just said. Deb is awesome. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there was just a real recent update on the teacher raise.
Yes.
It did pass out of the Senate unanimously about an hour ago, and they did add librarians to it. So, but that's all they added was librarians. So, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, and thank you for doing the presentation for me.
Absolutely. Thank
You take care of me all the time, Deb. I just cannot do it without you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for my pie.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it's the best you've ever had, because I've been telling you it is. So, the best one I've ever had. Item 9, so I kind of did A and B together in that. So we've done B. Item 9, new business for possible board action. A, board policy. 1, possible action regarding board policy FOD local, first reading. Dr. Maika.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. As this is the first reading, Dr. Brummett, the Executive Director for Student Support Services, is here should you have any questions.
Okay.
Good evening, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. In brief, as you know, Chapter 37 of Texas Education Code requires that school districts implement a viable means of addressing expulsions from the district and the subsequent appeal of those expulsions. Currently, the hearing officers communicate that decision in 3 ways: a personal phone call to the parent to be followed by an email, and lastly, concluded with a certified return receipt letter. The intent, obviously, of that personal communication with parent is, number 1, for documentation purposes, but number 2, to quell any anxiety or address any ambiguity during a very anxious time for parents. The issue, quite candidly, necessitating your consideration for a revision is that the current system of notification is somewhat antiquated and is overly dependent upon the Postal Service, and the revisions that you've seen will allow notification from the hearing officer to count as the first notice, an email to count as the second notice, and then reverting lastly to certified mail. As you know, also, there is a 3-day window for consideration of any appeal that a parent might promote, which ultimately it results in the convention of an ARC committee, followed, if necessary, by an appeal to you as the Board of Trustees. So in an effort to be sensitive first and foremost to your time as a board, but also to the staff members who are pulled off their respective campuses to hear any prospective appeals, the impetus behind the proposed revision is to allow a change in the notification to make it more contemporary, to document the time of that 3-day window for appeal from the first point of verbal contact by the hearing officer to be followed by that email.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay.
Yeah, I have a
On the emails, I really like the idea that's being brought on. Will they be able to determine, will we be able to determine if the person received it and has read it? So will there be a read receipt or anything like that?
Yes, ma'am, that's a great question. That's one of the things that we're initiating as far as the communication. Ms. Hughey, there's a script, at the conclusion of each expulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And part of our communication to parents is please provide us with a phone number. Please provide us with an email at which you would expect to be reached. So that would be the tweak that we would add, in correlation with the data that's currently in Skyward. So yes, we would attach that read receipt, but as you've noticed, the policy is also very explicit that it's measured and calculated by the point at which we send it. Not
That's
the
fine.
point
That's
at which
great.
an individual
Right. Yeah.
alleges that they received it or opened it or didn't receive it. It's just another preventative measure to have the read receipt.
Would it be possible to add maybe a text to their cell saying, please check your emails or something like that, just to make sure, just a
Certainly.
double?
Yes, ma'am.
A double, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. They have, again, a component of the script is you know, at which phone number would you expect to receive that personal communication?
Okay.
Because again, we want to personalize a very impersonal process first and
Right.
foremost. I can't think of a compelling reason why they could not, but pending obviously any revision that you decide to make to this policy, the expulsion scripts will be adjusted in that way.
I just think it's a great idea, so thank you.
I do have a question. So the first step is officer, is that correct? And then the second step is email? Did I?
Yes, ma'am.
So my question was, and I had the same question Sandy did, but also, so does the second step not happen until the first step, until there's actual contact, the officer has contact with
Correct.
the student and
Yes,
student's
ma'am.
family? Okay.
The expectation from our office, because obviously that hearing officer is your designee as a board to convey that expulsion decision. So our practice is to make every best faith effort to communicate in person with an individual, to ask, you know, to address any questions that they might have. The hearing officer explicitly indicates that this communication that we're having right now is going to be followed by an email to you, as well as a letter that will be sent certified return receipt mail.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. The letter and the email go out at the same time, or because it kind of says and or? How does that work?
Yes, sir, and good question. The reason for the and/or, candidly, is because there have been multiple instances thus far this year where the U.S. Postal Service has said, we can't track your certified receipt letter, therefore consider it lost, which raises the argument that that defeats the purpose of the certified return receipt letter. But nevertheless, yes, sir, they would send the email, they would indicate that this is going to be followed by that letter. But there have been multiple instances where the Postal Service has said that letter has never arrived. So we're trying to make the email process, the verbal has always gone on, the email has always gone on, so we're not really changing our notification or our practice. We're just trying to revise board policy so that it's easier to calculate and be less of an imposition on campus time and on your time as a board when and if an individual should choose to appeal that expulsion recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the attached revisions to existing NEISD board policy FOD local as submitted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Brummett.
Thank you, Madam President.
Item 2, possible action regarding board policy update 112, first reading. Ms. King.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests, I present to you this evening the first reading of Update 112. Update 112 focuses on updating legal policies that were affected by changes in administrative rule and Commissioner of Education rulings. Several local policies have been updated as well to better align with these changes or for organization and restructuring purposes. As you know, legal policies are not adopted but only reviewed. Update 112 does contain 14 local policies and 2 exhibits that require your attention. Local policies may only be changed by the board by board action to adopt, revise, or repeal. We're here to answer any questions. This is first reading. If there aren't any, we are recommending this evening that the board approval of first reading of the attached local policies included in Update 112 as submitted.
Okay. Does anyone, thank you, Mrs. King. Does anyone have any questions? No? You seemed ready to.
Oh, no, I
ask
was
a
just going to
question.
make the motion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading of attached local policies included in Update 112 as submitted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hasso. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Item B, Instruction and Campus Administration 1, possible action regarding Proclamation 2019 instructional materials. Dr. Newman.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. At this time, I would like to ask Colleen Borman, our Executive Director for Learning Support Services, to address Proclamation 2019.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight, we're here to talk about Proclamation 2019, Instructional Materials Allotment, Selection, and Adoption Process. So before we go forward, we're going to need to go backwards a little bit. So I want to take you back to 2011. At that time, the legislators changed the way textbooks were handled in the state. Prior to 2011, all the books were purchased by the state. We ordered from the state. They paid for it all, and we said all is good in the world, except for sometimes the materials didn't match our district student needs. So the state responded, and they responded by creating the instructional materials allotment. And what that meant was no longer were they purchasing the books for us. They were going to send us the money, and we then purchased. So with the change, it definitely provided us with choice and control over our instructional materials. It's a good thing, but it's also a big task. The great news is we work in Northeast and we are up to any challenge. So that's the good news. Because what it is that we want the best thing. We want the best, absolute best for our kiddos. So let's do just a little teach piece on adoption cycle in the proclamation. The state board organizes adoption cycles, and those cycles occur every 8 years, and the purpose of it is to review the instructional materials, and typically they also review the TEKS. And so every 8 years we'll see ELAR come back around. Every once in a while, like this year, it did take them 9 years to review the material and the TEKS. So this year, we're looking at the ELAR TEKS. We'll go through that in just a minute. Then finally, after they do that, this commissioner creates a list. They bid some of the products out, and they create a commissioner's list, which has items that they recommend to us. Not necessarily that we have to purchase, but it's a commissioner's list that we can work from. So Proclamation 2019, you may say, why the number? 2019 is the year that we purchased the materials. So you'll see 2020 next year. We purchased these materials in that year. So this year we're looking at K through 5 handwriting, K through 5 English language arts, which we refer to as ELAR. So if you hear me say those, that acronym. K through 5 Spanish, ELAR, or SLAR, you may hear me say that. And then 6 through 8 language arts and reading, again, ELAR. So those are the materials that we'll be taking a look at. So in the district, we have procedures that we have in place with us to help us with this process. We only have EFA legal to guide us, so we truly have procedures in place to help us with this. So there is a district-level instructional materials team that's put together, and we begin that process of reviewing the materials. What our job is to ensure that what we select is based on the student's instructional needs, and that's really, really critical to us. Today, the other goal that we have is we are to ensure that all students are provided with instructional materials that cover the TEKS. And so you'll see a document that got slipped in late, and you'll say, Mrs. Borman, usually you're on time. TEA just released that last week. We were happy that procurement department got that to us, so we were thrilled to sneak it in on there for you because we were able to present to you that the materials do cover 100% TEKS. So those are the procedures that we have. Now you can say, Ms. Borman, there's no way you could do that job alone, and you are exactly right. It's a very large team. I have the pleasure of leading that team. My other very faithful friend is Jimmy Ramos. He works in the procurement department. He's textbooks and records accountability manager. Jimmy and Bernardo, who's next on that list, we have the pleasure of working this every year. The next people on the slide are the ELAR experts. So Jennifer Gutierrez, Director for Curriculum Instruction, and her Assistant Director, Tony Schwab. For secondary, we have Susan Diaz. Her assistant director was Nita Green. From the bilingual department, Alicia Calderon, and her assistant director is Jaime Soto, Carrie Halpert, and then Terri Sanchez was our assistant director for digital learning and curriculum instruction. That was our team, and some of them are here tonight, and we could not have done it without them. So wave and say yay.
Or please stand. Please stand.
Thank you. So
So it is a process that we go through. All of you received hopefully a little booklet with our process in it. It's a three-phase process that in Northeast we do to ensure that we're doing a great job with it. We involve multiple stakeholders. Our job is to ensure that we're aligned to our standards, whether it be the TEKS, the ELPS, or the college and career readiness standards. And then we phase it in. There's 3 phases. It started back in July of 2018, and we got the proclamation from the state, and we sent notice out to publishers, hey, we're open for business. So that phase 1 is really about the nuts and bolts, is how things are going to get accomplished. And so during that time, we established campus representative teams, a committee. So each one of our campuses has a representative on that committee. We create that evaluation rubric, and that is specific for Northeast. Like I said, it's about the student needs. We create that ourselves. We hold those initial trainings to make sure that our committee is really trained on what we're looking for. And then we conduct publisher hearings where they come in. Our team meets with them. We also went to Region 20 this year to be sure we really understood that what products were out there, what resources were available to us. Phase 3, it really starts January to February. We're really finalizing that evaluation. We look at the technical end of it. You'll see that we're asking for digital purchases, and we want to make sure Terri had to check off and said, yes, Ms. Foreman, this is good business. And so we wanted to make sure we did that. And then that committee, that smaller committee, submits their recommendations to the district level team, and then the district level team takes a closer, deeper dive into it. Then right now, we're currently in phase 3, and this is where we begin negotiating the quotes. Just like I said, they give us the money, but we have to work within that budget. And so we worked with the publishers. We really did a deeper dive to ensure that what resources they were providing us met our instructional needs. And we're really pleased to recommend 2 publishers to us. As we did that deeper dive, we realized that both of these publishers met our specific needs, especially when we look at our bilingual needs. One publisher was significantly head and shoulders over the other publisher. So tonight, we're presenting to you our recommendation. If approved, we'll continue in phase 3 all the way through August 2019. If approved, we'll begin to order those materials with the goal being on campus by August. We'll begin that training for our teachers to be sure they understand the new resources and to be sure they're aligned with our scope and sequence, with our curriculum, to be sure. On the resources that we're purchasing, it will be the centerpiece of our curriculum, but will not be the complete curriculum. We put that together, the curriculum instruction team puts that together so that our teachers have access to that. And of course, our teachers always have choice on that. So tonight, what we're seeking is approval for our requested materials there. Our publisher for handwriting is Perfection, K through 5 is Perfection Learning, Benson Handwriting. K through 5, really it's K through 8, we chose Pearson. And with that, we were really excited about the vertical alignment piece that came with it. But also, I do have to say, when we went K-8, we did get a significant discount, which helped our bottom line as well. And so we're asking for $8,775,801 this evening. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Borman? Nope.
No, we're good.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the 2019 proclamation instructional materials purchases as presented by the 2019 district level instructional materials committee and certify that all students will be provided with instructional materials that cover the TEKS?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Trevino, Ms. Winkley, I'll give you the second.
Sounds great.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you so much, Ms. Foreman.
Thank you. In the audience tonight, we do have our representation from Perfection Learning, Benson Handwriting, Leah Ames, and Christy McCarroll. We're very excited about entering in a partnership with them. And I don't know if Kathy Becker is here tonight. Oh, there's Kathy Becker over there from Pearson. we're excited that they're here, committed to ensuring that we have a successful adoption. So
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
thank you.
Thank you. Item C, Operations 1, possible action regarding 2015 bond, new project, convert West Avenue Elementary School into a district pre-kindergarten academy, project schematic design and bid award approval. Mr. Clary.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff and guests, Mr. Sullivan is ready to make this presentation.
Good evening, Madam President.
Good evening.
The first presentation we have this evening concerns the conversion of West Avenue Elementary School into the district's first pre-K academy. This is the agenda we will follow. This project is being led by our construction planning and design department, so we're doing the in-house architecture, and we're getting support from several consultants that are shown on the screen to assist that department with the development of the construction documents. Our contractor is our jock contractor, Satterfield and Ponticus Construction. I'd like to introduce Mr. Brad Shearer, who's in charge of the San Antonio office for that company, and they're doing an excellent job for the district. They're on about 10 different projects for us, and we handpicked them because of their prior work history with us, because we have a very short duration to get this work accomplished. So we're ready to go on August 19th. All right, I'm going to break down what we need to accomplish at the school and the conversion into two groups. The first group is existing building code requirements that we must address to get a certificate of occupancy to operate the school as a pre-K academy. Pre-K academy is a completely different entity than a K-5 school. It's almost like operating a child care center because of the age of the students is under 5. Therefore, there's a whole host of new rules that we must adhere to for the facility. The first is, since this is a 2-story facility with classrooms on the 2nd floor, the city requires that the building be protected by a fire protection system, a sprinkler system. Currently, the school does not have a fire protection system. It has a fire alarm system. But to operate as a pre-K academy, we must put in a fire protection system school-wide. Secondly, the restrooms in the facility are not currently pre-K compliant. All of the fixtures in the classrooms need to be lowered in order to provide and meet that requirement. Handrails on the 2nd floor are not currently ADA compliant, nor on the 1st floor ramps, and the door hardware is not compliant. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on each of these topics to give you a greater appreciation. So first, here's our requirement for the fire protection system. We must install at the street a backflow preventer called a double check detector. That's the red item that's shown right here. This prevents any water from the fire protection system while it's energized, but not actually pumping water from flowing back into the city's potable water source. So this keeps the water, once it fills and charges the system, from staying in the system and not reversing flow back into the city's potable water system. And then we have to put in a pump riser room that controls the flow of the water when it comes in from the street. And then in all the classroom spaces and bathrooms, we need to put in our fire sprinkler devices. Because we knew this was a requirement early on, we worked with a contractor that specialized in fire protection type systems to get a good idea of what was going to be required and the sequence of the work, because we have to do some work prior to the start of the summer, and then we're going to do the rest of the work in the summer when school lets out. Next, we have the 8 classroom restrooms. We have a group of 8 restrooms that service the existing first floor classrooms that look like in the photo on the right, and that water closet is not ADA compliant. To be ADA compliant, you have to be able to bring a wheelchair into it and have a 5-foot turning radius for the person in the wheelchair, which this does not meet that requirement, because this school is old. I mean, when it was built, it was in compliance with the law, but it's not in compliance today. So we have 2 of these restrooms side by side. We're going to group them together and create the 5-foot turning radius, and then lower all of the fixtures to a pre-K height.
Now, for the multi-use restrooms that are available to the entire student population as well as adults in the school, we have to provide accoutrements so that the pre-K kids can use the adult features. So you can see on the far left, we have to provide a step up for the little kids to use the sink. We have to provide a surround around the water closet, which is in the third photo here, so that they can get up and use the water closet. And these are all removable so that we can have adults use them as well as kids use them. So we're going to equip several of the fixtures with these items and leave the other fixtures in the restroom for adults only, which meets the spirit of the requirement for the multi-use restrooms. In the left-hand photo, it shows the handrails that are not ADA compliant. The new rules require a specific height between the horizontal members, which this exceeds that, and also the vertical members also have to have a specific height so kids cannot stick their head through or other body parts. The same is true for the photo on the far right. That's an exterior handrail on a ramp that has to also be replaced. Finally, all the door hardware in the school is the round knobs like you see there. That's not ADA compliant. It has to be the lever type like you see back there where the police officer is. Those have to have all levers, not because it's hard for somebody that has a handicap to turn that knob. So the entire school is populated with this old hardware. We have to replace all that hardware. Now, the other supporting work that's not mandated, but that we feel is appropriate to do based on input from multiple departments and the campus staff is, one, we want to add a secure entry vestibule to the school. Next, we want to upgrade the marquee to a digital marquee. There's a section of perimeter fencing that's only 4 foot high. We want to upgrade that to 6 foot high. We need an age-appropriate playground. We have 2 nice playgrounds out there that are great for K-5 students, but we need a playground for a pre-K environment. We want to paint the inside of the building. We want to add new room signage. And lastly, we want to provide new furniture for the classrooms and library furniture that's age appropriate for the pre-K population. So first, let's talk about the secure entry lobby. Now, this is a view down the corridor towards the door that would be the main entrance to the school. Currently, when folks come into the school, I'm going to jump to the next slide, they come through the main entrance to this point in the corridor, they turn right, walk down the corridor about 75 feet, and then they enter a door here to go into the admin area. So in order to secure this, we need to add the secure entry lobby, which is another set of doors so that people cannot pass into the school environment until they've been checked in and badged. But unfortunately, next to the secure lobby, this is the clinic. Right now, this is the clinic. We need to reorganize the admin area, and we have to move the clinic, move the actual admin function and the counseling function so that it works with our secure entry lobby. So this area here you see on the top half of the screen, all of those spaces are going to be repurposed and moved around in order to support the secure entry lobby. And then some of those functions move across the hall. Here's the teacher workroom and break area. Overall, this is about $1 million of the project to put the secure entry lobby in here because it's not just the lobby, it's the reallocation of space to make the admin area work with the lobby. Or next, we have to upgrade the playground to a pre-K type age-appropriate playground to service the 400-plus students that we're planning for at the school. We're going to upgrade the marquee to be a digital marquee to make it more easy for the campus to post what's going on at the school and notices to parents. And then finally, you can see this is the perimeter fence. There's a section of this fence that's only 4 foot tall, about 160 linear feet that we need to upgrade to 6 foot tall to make it more secure. And then, as mentioned previously, we're going to paint the inside of the school. We're going to install room signage and provide new furniture for the classrooms and the library. So it's going to cost the district approximately $3.3 million in order to accomplish this work, with $3 million of those dollars being the work that's going to be done by Satterfield and Ponticus, another $230,000 of that work that's going to be done by the other supporting contractors, and then $53,825 in permitting and design fees. I will mention to you that we presented this presentation to the CBAC on the 21st of February, and the CBAC recommends this for your consideration, and it has their full support. Dr. Gottardy and Dr. Maika were both present. In fact, we spent probably 50% of the entire 2 hours talking about this project. On this slide, here is the $3 million that'll be used by Satterthwaite and Ponticus to do the majority of the work. However, we will have contracts with other vendors. Sign Resource Management will do the digital marquee, as well as the room signage. Park Place Recreational Design will bring in the pre-K playground equipment in the playground area that's built by Satterthwaite and Ponticus. And then the procurement department will let contracts with the various vendors to provide the best value library and classroom furniture. That's another $230,000, and then the $53,825 for our design fees gives us our total of $3.3 million. Now, some of the work we want to get started with immediately. As you know, the contract for the school district was modified to reduce a week and start the school year a week earlier. So rather than having 80 days in the summer, we have 73 days. So we're going to start some of the work early, right after essentially your approval this evening, and do some preparatory work to get ready for the summer. That includes putting in the backflow preventer and running the fire line into the building and stopping there. The rest of the fire line work will be done inside the building after school lets out, because we cannot be doing that work while school's in session. We can do the handrails on the second floor and the first floor. We can change out the door hardware. We can do that after hours or on weekends. We can do the digital marquee. We can do the playground. We can upgrade the fencing. All that work can be accomplished beginning tomorrow all the way up till the start of summer and into the summer if necessary. And then the work on the right-hand side is the work that is restricted and cannot start until the construction project gets underway after school lets out on June 7th. We've had very detailed conversation with Mr. Shearer, and he is very confident, feels very good about the team he's assembled to do this work, and is not concerned at all about not finishing in time for the start of the school year on August 19th. The rain doesn't have any impact on us because we're working inside an existing facility. Now, let's talk about financially how this project fits in with our bond program, since we're going to be asking you to spend bond funds in order to accomplish this work. Now, for those board members that may be new or not familiar with this part of the presentation, this is how we keep track of our bond spending. I call it the scorecard. And on the next series of slides, on the far left-hand column is the project number. The second column from the left is the description of the project. Third column from the left is the program cost. That's what it's costing us to do the work, total. Design fees, construction costs, FF&E, all costs included. The program budget is the budget that we assigned to the project as a result of our 2015 bond planning back in 2015 when the bond was put together. And then the far right-hand column is the difference between the program cost and the program budget. Projects that came in under budget are highlighted in a dark green cell with white lettering, and projects that came in over budget are highlighted with an orange cell and black lettering. The true test of a bond program is not how each project pans out financially, because it's very difficult to forecast exactly what something is going to cost 3 years into the future when a lot of construction costs are influenced by the price of gas and other global impacts. But the true test is at the end of the bond program, did you have enough funding overall to fund all of your projects? And I'm happy to report that we do. So I'm going to jump to the final slide because that's where the West Avenue project is featured. The last project here, project number 56. You can see right now that it's the budget and the program match exactly because we're presenting it to you tonight. And that we have $2.8 million in construction contingency controlled by the Construction Management Department to fund the day-to-day bond projects that are in operation. We have some 32 contracts currently underway at 32 campuses. The global contingency fund controlled by the school board and superintendent with the 3 projects shown below would have a fund balance of $8.25 million. $1.137 million to fund the high school safety and security, which you previously approved. We now have that price final. In fact, it's an agenda item in the consent agenda. $2.3 million to fund the middle school safety and security upgrades, which is the next presentation, and then $3.3 million to fund the West Avenue conversion. With all 3 of those funded at the value shown, that would still leave you out of the $15 million, $8.25 million unspent. And overall, our district contingency fund balance is $11,075,000. So even with this project included in the bond program, we still have $11 million of unspent monies that are available to us to do other work within the district or to fund other projects, because we still have a few projects. Montgomery, shown here is Project 53. The rifle range targeting and scoring system, which is another presentation tonight. The middle school fencing and the West Avenue project. Those projects are the only projects remaining that need to be funded with the bond program that are yet to bid out. But I feel very confident in the funding that we have established, that I don't see it's going to be a problem. So even if you were to approve this tonight, we still have $11 million unallocated and available. So this is the recommendation from staff, and we're recommending your consideration and approval of this agenda item tonight so we can move forward with the conversion of the campus to a pre-K academy. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I do have a question, not so much about the costs, but I was just curious to know, you talked about converting the existing playgrounds, or is there a different area that the pre-K playgrounds will be, so it won't interrupt the playgrounds that are there for K-5 through?
That's correct.
Five?
The
Okay.
2 playgrounds that are
5.
currently in use, we're not going to touch them. We're going to leave them in place. We're going to be adding a 3rd playground that'll be exclusively for the pre-K students.
And so when the pre-K campus is all pre-K, what happens to the K through 5? Do those get removed and replaced?
They do
or?
not. They stay in place, and they're not to be used by the pre-K students unless the campus wants to put kids on the larger equipment and let them use it.
Okay. And then I do have a question. I did see a photo of a portable. Will there be portables at this?
There are portables out there, but they're not intended to be used. They're
Okay.
just at the campus.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else have any?
The category that was the other support work.
Yes, sir.
Like the playground, the sign, and everything. Is that also going to be under the direction of Satterfield? And
It will not. It will be under the direction of the construction management department.
Okay, so
we'll be dealing directly with those vendors with separate contracts.
Okay. And then you mentioned at the beginning combining the restrooms in the classrooms to make them ADA compliant.
Yes, sir.
Does that start to mess with our ratios of number of restrooms per classrooms or
That's a
anything
very
like
good
that?
question.
Okay.
So his question is, since we have to take we have 16 restrooms, 2 side by side, essentially a pair of restrooms for every group of classrooms. His question is, if we eliminate 8 restrooms, because we're going to go from a net of 16 down to 8, does that create a problem for us code-wise? The answer is no. We've actually done a restroom count and determined that we can support up to 420 students with all the restrooms that'll be available after we do the upgrades to the classroom restrooms.
That's no other questions?
That was a great question.
That was a great question.
I don't have a question but I do have a comment, and just to say thank you, and especially thank you to Satterfield Ponticus for agreeing to, really put the pedal to the metal and get us ready by August. That's, nothing more fun than watching a bunch of pre-Kers start their first day.
Thank you, Mr. Jaso.
I think Mr. Shearer and his team are getting ready to go over there in about 3 minutes.
You may leave after the vote.
He's ready to start, let me tell you.
I can tell he's by the back door. He's ready to go. Or the front door. Anybody else have anything? Do I need to read this whole thing? Yes.
You have to read at least what's on the board agenda Word file.
All right. Are you ready? Here we go. Do I have a motion to approve, one, use of 2015 bond global contingency funds, $3,308,825, to support conversion of West Avenue Elementary School into a district pre-kindergarten academy? Two, award JOC construction work to Satterfield and Ponticus Construction, JOC general contractor, and the various subcontractors as shown on bid attachment number 1. 3, establish not to exceed budgets for the other supporting work as shown on bid attachment number 1 for the new digital marquee and room signage, sign resource management, new playground equipment, Park Place recreational designs, and new classroom and library furniture, Northeast ISD Procurement Department. Additionally, do I have a motion that the board grant the superintendent, associate superintendent for operations, and executive director for construction management and engineering authority to execute the various contracts in support of this project?
So move.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, possible action regarding 2015 bond middle school campus facilities safety and security upgrades project, perimeter fencing and gates, schematic design, and bid authorization approval.
Thank you,
Mr. Yes.
Mrs. Grona. All right, our next presentation concerns our second project, spending 2015 bond global contingency funds to address safety and security initiatives at the middle schools. This is the agenda we will follow for this presentation. This project is also being overseen by our construction planning and design department, so we're acting as our own architect. And the two contractors are going to provide the majority of the work is De La Garza Fence and Supply, who's one of our preferred vendors and already a job contractor providing fencing work, and 360 Integrated is our security consultant and contractor to do all the security supporting work to control the gates and so forth. All right, the project objective, same as it was for the high schools, is to create a secure interior environment so students, when they're moving between classes in the interior parts of the school campus, can do so freely without fear or concern that an intruder has gained access to that area. Task number 1 is to provide perimeter fencing and create that secure environment. The fencing will be 6 feet tall. It'll be chain link fence, unless it's at a front entrance area, which will be then the decorative metal fence. Secondly, provide pedestrian and vehicular gates to allow access to the school area, and our budget for this is $2.3 million. This is a typical example of the chain link, 6 foot tall chain link perimeter fence. At our entrance gates, the view on the left is a view from the outside, so a person wanting to enter here, if they had a key access card, could swipe it here at the card reader, and that would release the magnetic hold open lock and allow access. If it's a student, there'll have to be an administrator here, like at the beginning of school, letting kids into the school for the start of the day so that the doors are then secured. On the inside, you can see that we have panic hardware so the students can exit in the event of a fire or other type of emergency. But on the front side, we have this woven wire mesh partition that's very tightly knit so that people cannot reach through and then pull on the panic hardware to gain access without using the card reader. It also has a security camera so these areas can be monitored by the front office staff on their desktop computers. An example of a vehicular gate, this device over here will read the tag on the vehicle, whether it be a teacher car or a bus, and the gate will automatically open and then close, just like you might find in an HOA, a gated community. And you were given prior an example, a site plan of all 14 schools in the deference of time. Since you've had a chance to review that, I've just picked one school to show a proof of concept of what we're going to do. This happens to be Eisenhower, where by installing all of the perimeter fencing and gates, the area in green becomes our interior secure perimeter. So all that area is controlled by a fence, a gate, or some other manner that doesn't allow somebody from the street to just easily gain access to the interior of the school. And these same slides I have available in case you have a question on any of the other 13 sites. I could highlight those. And up here, there's a key that tells you if it's chain link fence, ornamental fence, vehicular gate, pedestrian gate, or an access control point, and where the security area is, and that's what the different highlights are. Each of these slides was put together by Jose Burgett, who is our district architect, works in the construction planning and design department. He met personally with each principal to present this and get their input to put together the plan for each of the 14 schools. So this was a collaborative effort between the campus staff and our department to put together these plans for your consideration this evening. This shows our construction budget of the $2.3 million we're requesting for use from the Global Contingency Fund. And again, CBAC was presented this presentation and recommends for your consideration using the funds as discussed this evening for this project. The timeline we intend to follow is pending your approval this evening. We intend to get bids over the next several months and be prepared to come back to you in August with a presentation on the cost to build the 14 school perimeter fencing and gates project. And then that work would begin in September. Because right now, our focus right now is we've already, with your permission tonight, will approve the high school fencing plan, and that work will be completed by the start of the new school year. And as soon as that work's completed, we begin to work on the middle school plan, which will be completed by the end of the school year in May of 2020. And then we have another presentation that we're going to present you in a few months on the elementary school plan. And that'll complete all three levels of our safety and security upgrades at the three levels of schools using our global contingency funds. Again, on our financial scorecard, this is project number 55, and you can see the budget and the program cost balance because we haven't received bids yet. This is our expected cost, and we feel we're being conservative. As you may recall, we budgeted $1.875 million for the high school plan, and the total cost came in at only $1.137. So we came in under budget about $770,000. So we expect something similar, probably not that great because now we've got really good baseline numbers that we based our budget on, so it probably won't be that kind of savings on this project. And that's note number 2 on the contingency slide, showing the allocation and what the global contingency fund balance will be if all three of these items are accepted by the board this evening, still leaving us $11 million in contingency unexpended. And then this is the staff recommendation for your consideration, Ms. Grona. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Did anyone have any questions for Mr. Sullivan about this? Yes, Ms. Hughey?
Mr. Sullivan, it's easy to understand the need for a perimeter fence to keep bad people out. What about a situation where our students need to escape and they're contained by the fences?
That's why we have the panic hardware on all of the exit gates so they can easily pass through those checkpoints in the need of exiting.
But the perimeter fence that surrounds the whole area, that not necessarily the gates, but the 6-foot fence, they'll have egress points also that children could easily get out if needed in an emergency?
Not the same as you'd have right close to the building. There, the gates would have to be unlocked by the administrators because at that point you're leaving the school property and you're going outside into San Antonio or whatever city surrounds the school.
Right. I just know that
there's plenty of room in the green area for students to congregate and be away from the buildings and be protected in the event of a fire so they're not compromised.
I just know there had been parental concern about our students possibly being trapped in if there was a situation where someone did manage to get into the campus and they were unable to escape the campus grounds.
Well, you can leave any, like if we go back to Eisenhower, you can leave any door from these gray buildings and you're outside in the parking lot or the athletic fields and you can go any direction. if you escape into the green area, there are strategic gates, like these green dots are the vehicular gates. They're not going to open unless you have a proxy tag to open the gate. So the idea would be if students get in the green area, they just need to pass through one of the secure gates, like I showed the photos of right here,
Right.
to gain access to the outside beyond the school perimeter.
Okay. All right.
Could you go back to that slide again? I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So what you're saying is, say where the new athletic facility addition building 4, there is another exit that does not go to the green section.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
Like
and
here's
that's case
the
for
these
all
are the front
buildings?
these are the front doors into the athletic, so you can leave these doors right here and you're outside in the pedestrian plaza next to the tennis courts and basketball courts in the parking lot. So you can go right out those doors.
Okay, and in most of our campuses, there's that situation where they can leave the building, not exiting into what it would be the green area. in
Yes, ma'am,
other-
that's correct. Right. But Ms. Hughey is right. If you got into the green area, there are only, it will be more difficult to leave that area because of the way we have it secured. But you can leave the gray areas and go directly outside the school building, and you're not contained in any way.
They're secured area, they're not, they all have egress points, just like if you were going into those areas, there's ways to get out of those areas.
Right, with the panic hardware.
Right.
Was there any consideration to putting, or maybe they're on there and I'm missing it, like a pedestrian gate next to the vehicular gates? So you have, if the vehicular gate doesn't open quickly or people are trying to get out of that green area, that there's a pedestrian gate with a panic bar on it?
Well, you can see if you look at the slide, right here, in between the two vehicular gates, right here, this orange dot is a pedestrian gate that you could leave through. And then there's also a pedestrian gate over here you could leave through.
Yeah, your pointer's not working.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I
All right, I'm sorry, I was sure.
I got
right
you. I
here.
can see what you're saying, though.
There's a orange dot here, that's a pedestrian gate in between the two vehicular gates.
Vehicular gates, gotcha.
You could leave through that gate, and there's also one here.
Right.
Well, it actually looks like there's one by that other green dot.
There is, yeah, I just saw that one there.
And yeah, I'm sorry, there is one, you're right, Ms. Grona, right south of the, there's
Right
one
there.
also right here, correct. So we got 3 pedestrian gates that you could exit through to get outside, but that's it. From the secure area, either you exit those points or you go through the building and exit through a doorway.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, so these out here, these orange dots, are we saying those have that panic release?
Yes, sir.
They do? Oh, okay.
That's my understanding.
They do, Mr. Clary said. Any other questions, comments? That was, okay, so I'm going to read. Unless someone else I would like to. I don't see any hands being raised. Do I have a motion to, oh, thank you, Terry. Do I have a motion to approve use of the 2015 bond global contingency funds to provide additional safety and security upgrades at middle school facilities, perimeter fencing and gates with a project budget equal to $2,300,000? Additionally, do I have a motion to use the TXMAS Cooperative Purchasing Agreement District Job Order Contract Number 80-15 as needed, general building repairs and renovation, District Job Order Contract 80-18 as needed, general repairs and services of school facilities, and District Job Order Contract 75-15 as needed, security alarm and technical building systems repairs and renovations, bid delivery methods for construction of the perimeter fencing and gates at district middle school facilities?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hasso. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Item 3, possible action regarding 2015 bond JROTC Rifle Range Facility Improvements Project, Johnson and Roosevelt High School schematic design approval. Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, President Grona. Our last presentation this evening concerns the air rifle target improvements at 4 existing ROTC facilities in the district. This is the schematic design presentation. This is the agenda we will follow. I'd like to introduce our project architect this evening, Garza Architects, and with us, principal partner, Mr. Jesse Garza, if you could stand.
Thank you for being here.
Doing an excellent job for us. They were also responsible for the Madison High School JRTC facility additions, renovations, and that project will be finishing up in about 3.5 months, and it's going very smoothly, and it was a great set of documents. All right, so what does this project entail? There are 2 parts to this project. First is we have 4 ROTC facilities that are going to have 8-lane rifle ranges. 2 of those facilities, Madison and Reagan, the project is included in a larger project to upgrade the rifle range. Madison facility is being renovated and upgraded. It was a 1998 bond project to build the original facility, and now we're putting in a new targeting system. So all the work supporting the new Zeus targeting system is being done as part of the Madison project. And at Reagan High School, we're building a new standalone RTC facility, and all of the target range improvements at that campus are included in that project. But that still leaves 2 other facilities that do not have major projects planned for them, Johnson and Roosevelt. So this presentation really focuses on how we're going to go about upgrading those 2 facilities because it's a standalone project. All 4 of the campuses are going to get the new Zeus rifle range targeting system, the same system we purchased in the 2011 bond program for the other 3 schools we've already upgraded, Churchill, Lee, and MacArthur. We did 3 schools in the 2011 bond. We're doing 4 schools in the 2015 bond. So at the conclusion of this bond program in August of this year, all 7 high schools will be operating with the brand new Zeus targeting systems. The only exception is Reagan's RTC facility will not be finished until November. But by the end of this year, calendar year, all the facilities will be upgraded with the new systems. Now, at Johnson High School, the ROTC facility is a standalone building, shown here in the red circle. And at Roosevelt High School, the ROTC facility building is attached to the existing science building, and these were built as part of the 1998 bond program. So at those 2 facilities, we're going to be removing the old targeting system, infilling the sand pit that's at the end of the range that used to collect the lead pellets that were fired by the air rifles. That no longer is required because the new targeting systems capture those pellets, or the pellets are trapped with a curtain and fall on the floor, and then they're just swept up. At each of those 2 ranges, we need to build a control room to control the targeting systems because it's all digital and automated. We need to install conduit pathways and wiring to operate the targeting systems. Both of these facilities, Johnson and Roosevelt, are suspended slabs, so we'll be able to come up from underneath in the crawl space at the appropriate points where we need to put in the targeting systems. We'll be putting in a new VCT floor with range striping and lane numbering, and then the new targets will be provided for all 8 lanes. One enhancement that we're asking for your consideration this evening, and this also was presented to CBAC at our 21 February meeting, and they're recommending it to for your approval tonight, is 2 of our facilities, Roosevelt and Johnson, do not have ice machines that are part of the facility. So they have to go to the athletic facility or the cafeteria to get ice when they do their outdoor drill and ceremony practices at their marching pad. So those campuses asked as part of this project if we could provide them an ice machine. It costs about $50,000 per facility to do all of the plumbing and the electrical hookups and procure the ice machines to support this initiative, and we're recommending this for your consideration this evening. This would require an programmatic increase to the budget for the project we'll discuss in a few minutes. All right, let's go through each of the projects. There's our Johnson facility, shown in the blue highlight. This is an enlarged view of that existing range that was built when we built Johnson High School as part of the 2005 bond program. And you can see the range is shown here. An interior of that range shows the existing targeting system and baffles, so the targets go down and forth on this chain assembly, like you might find at a firing range, an indoor firing range that you could go to in the area with your own personal weapon. All that's going to be removed. The sand pit below the old target systems will be filled in with concrete, and then it gets new flooring, lane striping, and then the new targeting system. We need to build a control room to operate the rifle range system, which is shown in the red box, and you can also see over in the bottom right is the location for the ice machine, which has an exterior door right off of the marching pad for easy access. This is just an enlarged view of the rifle range in the control room. You can see that the 8 lanes are now marked with the numbering on the VCT floor, the firing line, and then the new targeting systems are all portable, so they can be packed up and moved for maybe a competition elsewhere. They can be integrated with other facilities, so you could have a competition going on at Johnson and Roosevelt simultaneously, and you'd know what was happening at each facility because of the digital readout. This is a view looking back at the control room from where the rifle range targets would be located. So you're seeing the control room in the back here. Here's the firing points. And then kind of a close-up view. We're also going to provide, it's shown in this slide, a bench where the shooters can sit that are waiting for their turn to go up to the firing line to engage the targets. From the windows that are on 3 sides, they have good visibility of all the different lanes so that they can cease fire in the event they need to correct a situation on the firing line. All right, moving on to Roosevelt, their rifle range is located here where this blue outline is on the corner of Walsham Road. It's a similar design. These designs were put together when Colonel Zimlick was the ROTC program director at the district. This is our first generation ROTC design. It's just flipped from what you saw at Johnson, and again, here's the range. A view of that targeting system you saw in the Johnson photo that's operated with the chain mechanism to bring the targets from the firing line down to where the targets are located. The location of the control room and the ice machine shown on this plan. And then an enlarged view of that. You can see the benches are shown in front notionally on this slide, just like you saw in the Johnson photo. And then here is that control room with 3 windows for access, visibility to all of the 8 firing lanes. And then a view from the control room looking out towards the firing line. There'll be millwork in here where the computers will be located to control all the targets and the input that'll be fed to them from the targets as the real time. And some of you that went on previous feedback tours got to actually shoot one of the air rifles. Some of you that went on those tours and got to see this in operation at MacArthur about a year ago. Now, the overall project had a budget of $500,000 when the bond program was initially put together. However, in adding those ice machines, we need to add $120,000 to the program budget in order to make it work. I will point out that of the $210,000 in the FF&E account, about $187,000 is to buy the Zeus rifle range targeting systems, which was previously approved by the board in a previous agenda item several months ago. But in order to add those ice machines, we need to increase the program budget by $120,000. Specifically, this is for the 4 schools. At the two schools that are going to be done as a standalone project, Johnson and Reagan, this is the budget for that project, which is the majority of the $620,000. All that's not included in this number is $2,500 for the computers to run the targeting systems at those other two schools, and $93.25K for the actual targeting systems that will be fielded at Madison and Reagan. Our timeline, with your approval this evening, is to complete the construction documents, get bid prices, and bring back to you a recommendation for award in May. Start the work in June and have these two schools completed by the August 2019 school year start. Madison will also be completed by that time. The only project that'll be outstanding is the Reagan project, which is intended to be completed by the November 2019 timeframe. By that point, all 7 schools will be upgraded with the new Zeus targeting system. And this project is shown here, and you can see we have a delta of $120K, and I'm recommending that we use the construction contingency, which is very healthy, at $2.8 million in order to fund that shortfall, which essentially, the majority of that cost is the ice machines that we're recommending you add to the Johnson and Roosevelt facilities. So this is the recommendation from staff for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on this project.
Any questions about this project?
You answered all my questions.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
Ms. Winkley. Thank you.
Yeah, of
He
course.
knows what to anticipate.
He's good.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the schematic design presentation for the 2015 Bond Rifle Range Facility Improvements Project, Johnson and Roosevelt High School, authorize the increase of the overall program budget by $120,000 using bond construction contingency funds, and authorize the full development of design and construction documents for this project?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hasso. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam President.
Item D, consent. 1, Instruction and Campus Administration. A, School Health Advisory Council SHAC member appointments. 2, Business Services. A, donations. B, 50,000 purchases. 3, Operations. A, 2015 Bond High School Campus Facility Safety and Security Upgrades Project, Perimeter Fencing and Gates, bid award approval. B, 2015 Bond Montgomery Elementary School Gymnasium Replacement Project, bid authorization approval. C, 2016 Hail Damage Program Year 2 Kruger Middle School Roof Repair and Replacement Project, bid authorization approval. D, 2016 Hail Damage Program Year 2 Montgomery Elementary School Roof Repair and Replacement Project, bid authorization approval. E, 2016 Hail Damage Program Year 2 Multiple Facilities Roof Repair and Replacement Project, 5 campuses, bid authorization approval. F, easement dedication for drainage, streets, utilities, and various service agreements, Heroes Stadium Complex. G, development agreement with Sports Outdoor and Recreation Park, SOAR. H, professional service contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2015 bond design and construction requirements. 4, end of consent. Do I have a member wishing to pull an item from consent? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve consent as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. All those, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. 10, reports. A, financial statement review of expenditures, that's been provided to you. B, awarded bid report, that's been provided to you. 11, matters from the floor. The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, although members may request further information or a future agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedures for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on a topic related to district business for up to 3 minutes, but are not permitted to make 1, personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies. 2, a personnel action. 3, a student disciplinary matter. 4, a complaint about a particular student, 5, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail, care of the Superintendent's Office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Ms. Hughey.
Sandra Hidalgo.
Good afternoon, Madam President, board members, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. My name is Sandra Hidalgo, and I'm here to speak about talk about the clear backpacks.
Oh, can you state your address, please?
Oh, my address is 12511 Jones Maltzberger Road, apartment 5101, San Antonio, Texas, 78247.
Thank you.
Having clear backpacks seems to be an occurring issue. Middle schools and high school. Currently, my son is in middle school, so I will mainly address more middle school. I've spoken to the administration at his school, and I have addressed my concerns. The plastic is not thick enough to hold notebooks, folders, and other items in the backpack, and so they tear easily. That causes the parents to have to buy another backpack again and again when it happens. Whether a parent is financially stable or not, it becomes a big expense. Having to buy more than 2 backpacks or 3 backpacks a year, it gets expensive. These backpacks, you might get them at $10 or you might get them at $30 to $40, even $50 on Amazon. So if you multiply that, adds even more than buying a regular backpack. Students and in orchestra and band take instruments, and athletic students take duffel bags that are not clear. So if we talk about safety, they can easily put harmful items in their weapons. Yes, they don't use them throughout the day, but they still come on campus and they can have them on campus when they get there. So I personally, I'm sure there's other parents that might be going through the same thing. I have medical expenses. I have a daughter who's an amputee and sees many specialists. And so buying a backpack, again, I have priorities that I have to pay medical bills because of her, or even personally myself. I travel to Mexico because I cannot afford insurance here in the United States. It's expensive, and you guys know that it's very expensive. So with that said, NEISD, we know that they were providing a replacement. So, the first, second backpack was provided, by the parents, and they were sending backpacks to the schools to replace it. So if my son's backpack broke or tore up, they can go to the designated place and they can exchange it. I believe since January of this year, they were informed that they were no longer going to be provided by the school district, which I'm assuming that it is a big expense to the school district, because it is. So, why is that? I'm not sure, and maybe I can get a response to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Patsy Esterline.
Good evening, Ms. Grona, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. My name is Patsy Esterline, and I'm the president of the Northeast AFT, 6800 Park 10 Boulevard, 78213. Tonight I'm here to bring you excellent news. We have collected and inputted 2,000 first book registrations. However, we are still collecting just to be on the safe side and to bring more registrations into first book. The book distribution event is Saturday, March the 23rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're still planning with the administration on the details of the event, but we'll have an invitation for you shortly. So save the date, 2 weeks from this Saturday. It's a joy to watch the kids pick their own books and get to take them home and keep them. So join us. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Tamara Hudgens.
Hi there, everyone. My name's Tamara Hudgens. I run a nonprofit organization called Girl Start. We provide science, technology.
Will you please state your address for the record?
1400 West Anderson Lane, Austin, Texas.
Thank you.
78757.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We provide STEM education for girls. We were founded in 1997 as a response to the issue that although women earn more than half of the nation's bachelor's degrees, women are represented in less than a quarter of the nation's STEM jobs, and even fewer in areas such as computer science and engineering. We believe that girls have great ideas, and we believe that with a little help and support, those great ideas can go on to solve the world's greatest challenges. Girl Start has been providing programs in Northeast ISD since 2013. Since that time, more than 350 Northeast girls have participated in weekly, free Girl Start after-school programs, and more than 150 have participated in week-long Girl Start summer camp programs that are aligned with the TEKS and with next generation science standards. Girl Start girls outperform non-participating students in science and math STAR, with a dramatically higher number of them attaining level 3 commended performance or master's expectations on both science and math STAR in the 5th grade. Post-program participation, Girl Start girls go on to take more advanced and pre-AP classes than non-Girl Start participants, and the number of advanced classes that they take increases over time, whereas matched samples of non-participating girls take fewer advanced math and science courses, with the number of courses they take goes down over time. In a manner of speaking, Girl Start is supporting Northeast ISD's science and math goals. It's important to me, as executive director of our organization, to share with you periodically about the work that we are doing to bolster achievement in math and science among a subset of your girls, so that you know that Girl Start is investing in your district and that we care about providing resources to you. Our programs are free to girls and their families, free to schools and districts. We have been grateful for some local philanthropy, but we also leverage a lot of resources from outside the district to sustain our programs here. To date, we have raised and invested more than $250,000 in the district, and we hope to do so in order to increase academic preparation in science and math. Girl Start After School for this semester launched the week of January 28, and at the end of every semester, we host a culminating showcase week of activities and experiments. Knowing that everyone's schedules are pressing, should you like to visit, I should let you know that this semester's showcases will be the week of April 22, and we are pleased to welcome you to Girl Start After School Showcase, should you like to visit. We are grateful to have the opportunity to serve the district, and as it is possible, we look forward to deepening our relationship with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 12, discussion and possible action regarding board members' requests for items to be placed on a future agenda and our request for reports from the administration. Does anyone have anything? All right. If not, item 13, adjournment, and the time is 8:23. Thank you all for being here.